Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time, quiet and often unnoticed, when you feel a pull, a tug in your spirit. No trumpet sound, no friends cheer you on, and no mentor hands you a map, just a whisper, it's time. That's how every great journey begins, not in a crowd, not with applause, but with one person in silence deciding to move. There's a moment in life, not loud, not dramatic, when something deep inside you shifts. You won't always notice it when it happens. There's no grand music playing in the background, no spotlight shining on you, no voice from the clouds saying, "Now is your time." It's quiet, sometimes so quiet you can barely hear it. It usually happens in the stillness, when the noise dies down, when the world stops demanding, when it's just you and your thoughts. That's when you hear it, a whisper in the soul, a gentle nudge that says, it's time. That's the beginning of everything. That whisper is what I call the call to courage. You see, life doesn't shout its invitations, it sends them silently, wrapped in discomfort, delivered through doubt, and it's always personal. No one else can answer it for you. No one else even hears it. It's yours. And that's why it's scary, because it's yours alone. So that's what makes it powerful. Now, here's the challenge. Most people ignore that whisper, not because they're weak, not because they don't care, but because they're scared. Scared of what might happen if they actually listened. Scared of what they'd lose, what they'd face, or what they might discover about themselves. But let me tell you this, courage doesn't wait for fear to leave the room. Courage walks in anyway. You don't need a cheering section to begin. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't even need to know how it ends. You just need to take one step. That first, bold, lonely step. It doesn't look heroic from the outside. Sometimes it looks like getting up early to work on something no one else believes in. Sometimes it looks like quitting what's familiar to chase what's uncertain. Sometimes it's just saying no when everyone else expects you to say yes. And make no mistake, courage always comes with a cost. It's never free. It may cost you approval. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you friends who like the version of you that stayed small, but the price of ignoring the call is far greater. It's not something that hits you all at once. It's slower, quieter, more dangerous. It shows up as restlessness, as regret, as that haunting question that sneaks into your mind at night. What if I had just tried? You see, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's a whisper back. It's easy to say one day. Easy to say when I have more time, more money, more support. But let me ask you something. How many people do you know who are still waiting for the perfect moments? How many dreams have been buried under excuses? There is no perfect moment, there is only now. And it's scary, yes, because stepping out alone means no guarantees. It means walking into the unknown. It means betting on yourself when the world hasn't yet. But that's where real growth happens. It doesn't happen when everyone agrees with you. It doesn't happen when conditions are perfect. It happens when you stand at the edge of uncertainty, take a deep breath, and step forward. That moment, that is the birthplace of every success story you've ever heard. Every innovator, every leader, every groundbreaker, at some point they felt what you're feeling. Alone, unsure, unprepared, but they moved anyway. That's courage. That's where everything begins. Because here's a truth you might not hear often. You don't need to be ready, you need to be willing. Willing to begin without applause. Willing to show up before you feel qualified. Willing to trust the whisper more than the noise around you. And here's what's beautiful about it. Once you take that first step, you begin to change. Your mind starts to believe in you. Your heart starts to expand. You start proving to yourself that you are capable, not because someone told you, but because you showed yourself. Courage isn't something you find, it's something you choose. It's a decision, not a feeling. You don't have to wait to be fearless, you just have to decide that fear won't be your master. So if you feel that quiet pull today, that soft whisper telling you there's more, don't run from it, don't bury it, don't silence it. That's not doubt, that's not fear, that's your calling. And it's asking you for one thing, the courage to begin alone. One of the greatest lies we've been taught is this: you'll succeed as soon as the right people believe in you. We're told that we need a team, a mentor, or a partner, or a tribe to begin, that we should surround ourselves with the right people and build a network. And yes, those things are valuable. They can lift you, sharpen you, accelerate you. But they are not required to start. Too many people spend their lives waiting for approval, for validation, for support that may never come. They convince themselves they're not moving forward because they haven't found the right team yet. But the truth is far simpler and far more freeing. You don't need a crowd to chase your calling. Let's be real. Most people won't understand your dream. Not because they don't care, but because they're not assigned to it. Your vision was placed in your heart, not theirs. They don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel when you think about that goal, that idea, that change you know you're meant to create. And if you keep waiting for someone else to believe in you before you believe in yourself, you'll stay stuck forever. Look around. People are busy fighting their own battles, chasing their own peace, surviving their own storms. It's not personal, it's human. But if you let their silence become your excuse, your dream dies quietly, slowly. And you'll call it timing. Some people won't support you because your courage reminds them of their own fear. Your willingness to rise exposes their decision to stay still. Your boldness forces them to confront their own hesitation. And so they'll distance themselves, not to hurt you, but to protect their comfort. Others might love you deeply, but still not understand your mission. They want you safe, not stretched. They want you secure, not soaring. They don't want to see you fall, so they say things like, maybe wait a little longer, or are you sure this is the right time? And it sounds like love, because it is, but it's not the kind of love that will carry your dream forward. And that's why you must learn to walk without applause. You must learn to begin without the audience. You must get used to the sound of your own footsteps echoing in an empty hallway, because that's how all meaningful journeys start. People show up later. That's the pattern. First they doubt you, then they ignore you, then they watch you, then they admire you, then they ask how you did it. And when they ask, what will you say? That you waited for the perfect moment, that you delayed because no one clapped? Or will you tell them the truth, that you moved alone, that you built in the quiet, that you didn't wait for a perfect support system because you realized one powerful thing: you were enough to begin. Support is beautiful, but self-belief is essential. If you get support, be grateful, but if you don't, start anyway, because the myth of the perfect support system has stopped more people than failure ever could. Start before you're ready. Move before you're encouraged. Believe before you're believed in. Because the most powerful support system you will ever have is the voice inside that says, I can do this, even if no one else claps when I begin. There's a difference between being lonely and being alone. One weakens you, the other builds you. Most people are afraid of solitude. They run from silence. They fill every empty space with noise, with people, with distraction. Why? Because silence forces you to face yourself. And for many, that's terrifying. But here's the truth. Solitude is not your enemy. It's your training ground. It's where you become strong when no one's watching. It's where you wrestle with your doubts, your insecurities, your questions, and you come out stronger on the other side. In solitude, there are no masks to wear, no one to impress, no expectations to meet, just you, raw and real. And that's where clarity is born. That's where vision sharpens. That's where purpose takes root. When you choose solitude, not as isolation, but as intentional separation from noise, you begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to separate what you truly believe from what the world told you to believe. And in that space, you grow. The world will tell you that strength looks loud, spotlights, big stages, big followings, but real strength is quiet. It's developed in the unseen hours. The hours when no one texts back, the hours when your phone doesn't ring, the hours when you're working on a dream that no one else understands. That's where your roots go deep. That's where you build the kind of foundation that can hold success when it finally comes. Because here's something no one tells you. If you can't handle being alone with yourself, you won't be able to handle being known by the world. Fame, attention, success, they don't create identity. They expose it. And if you haven't done the internal work in solitude, you'll be crushed by the very thing you thought would fulfill you. Think about the strongest people in history, leaders, innovators, creatives. They all went through seasons of being alone, not because they wanted to disappear, but because they needed to develop, to prepare, to become the kind of person who could carry the weight of their vision. Moses had the wilderness, Mandela had a prison cell. Writers have their notebooks. Athletes have empty gyms. Entrepreneurs have long, quiet nights in front of a glowing screen. They all share one thing, a willingness to grow in solitude. We spend so much of life chasing connection, and connection is beautiful. But don't confuse constant company with strength. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say, right now, I need to be alone with my work, with my thoughts, with my purpose. Solitude sharpens you. It teaches you discipline. No one's watching, so you learn to show up for yourself. No one's clapping, so you learn to clap for yourself. No one's pushing you, so you learn to push yourself. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Because when you can build in silence, you become immune to noise. You're not shaken by praise or broken by criticism. You're grounded, focused, free. And that's when the shift happens. People start to notice the results of what you built in private. They'll see the strength, they'll feel the clarity, they'll respect the discipline, but they won't fully understand it because it wasn't built in public, it was built in the quiet. It was built in solitude. There is a sacred kind of work, the kind done in silence, in the dark, when no one else is watching. It's the early morning grind before the world wakes up, the late night hustle when everyone else has clocked out. It's the discipline to build when there's no recognition, no reward, no reassurance. This is the kind of work that changes you. Quietly, you've probably felt it, that tension between doing what's easy and doing what matters. Most people choose easy. They rest before they've earned it. They wait until motivation shows up. They tell themselves they'll start next week or when life slows down. But life doesn't slow down for anyone. And motivation, it's inconsistent at best. Discipline is what makes the difference. Discipline says get up even when no one's watching. Discipline says work now, celebrate later. Discipline says let them sleep, let them scroll, let them waste time. You've got work to do. Because while they sleep, you're building. They rest, you rise. They hesitate, you begin. They coast, you create. And here's what they won't see. They won't see the nights you chose your goal over your comfort. They won't see the hours spent learning, failing, adjusting, trying again. They won't see you at 5 a.m. tired but determined. They won't see you turning off distractions while the rest of the world escapes into entertainment. But one day they'll see the results. They'll see the business you built, the body you transformed, the craft you mastered, the peace you earned. And they'll ask, how did you do it? but they won't understand that it started when you made a decision they weren't willing to make. You chose to sacrifice what they wouldn't. You chose to give your time to something that didn't pay off right away. You chose the long game. And that choice, it changed everything. Because here's what most people forget. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently, especially when no one's looking. Anyone can work when it's convenient. Anyone can push when they feel inspired. But champions, real builders, they keep showing up when inspiration is gone, when energy is low, when applause is nowhere in sight. They don't need validation. They have vision. So let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Let them call you obsessed, too serious, too focused. Let them take the weekend off. Let them sleep in. Let them waste their evenings and their potential. You're not doing this for attention. You're doing it for transformation. Because every rep, every page, every email, every decision made in the dark, it compounds, it adds up, it stacks in your favor until one day the weight of your unseen effort becomes impossible to ignore. And when that day comes, the world will call you lucky. But you'll know the truth. You didn't wait for perfect conditions. You didn't need a crowd. You didn't follow the majority. You built while they slept. And now you're standing on a foundation no one else sees, but everyone can feel. Life will ask you to pay a price. You don't get to skip the cost. The only thing you get to choose is what kind of pain you want to live with. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline is uncomfortable. It demands consistency when you're tired. It requires action when you're uninspired. It asks you to say no to things that feel good right now so you can say yes to things that will matter later. It's waking up early to train your body when the bed feels warm. It's sitting at your desk to create, study, or build when your friends are out relaxing. It's cooking your own meals when takeout is easier. It's investing time into your goals instead of binge-watching your way through another evening. Discipline is hard. It's sacrifice. It's resistance. It feels heavy at times. It's not glamorous, and it rarely gets recognition in the moment. But it has one powerful freedom, because every act of discipline buys you a future without limits. It gives you the confidence to walk into any room, any challenge, any opportunity, knowing you paid the price ahead of time. Now let's talk about the other pain, the one most people choose without even realizing it. The pain of regret. Regret is quieter. It doesn't show up immediately. It hides in the background. It disguises itself as maybe later, next year, or I'll start when things calm down. It waits. Then one day it taps you on the shoulder. You hear it in the silence between your thoughts. You feel it when you scroll through pictures of other people doing the thing you once dreamed of. It visits you at night when you can't sleep and whispers, "You could have done more." Regret doesn't scream, it lingers. It shows up in missed chances, in unspoken words, in the version of yourself you could have become if only you had made different choices. And here's the harsh truth. Regret is heavier than discipline ever will be. Because while discipline stings for a moment, regret echoes for years. Discipline may ask for your time today, but regret will take your peace tomorrow. You'll never meet someone who pursued their goals with discipline and said, "I wish I hadn't," but you'll meet many who buried their gifts and quietly say, "I wish I had." So ask yourself, what do you want to live with? The short-term discomfort of waking up early, or the long-term ache of knowing you never started? The temporary pain of pushing through fear, or the permanent weight of wondering what your life could have been? Don't confuse comfort with peace. Comfort is a slow surrender. Peace is what comes when you've done the hard things, made the sacrifices, and lived aligned with your potential. There's a reason successful people talk about morning routines, structure, and habits. It's not because they love discipline. It's because they understand what undisciplined living costs. They've seen the price of regret in others. They've heard the stories of almost made it, used to be good, had a dream once. They chose discipline to avoid becoming that story. So choose now, pay now, struggle now, sweat now, because every drop of discipline you pour in today becomes the harvest you reap tomorrow. And while others are haunted by what could have been, you'll be standing in what is, because you chose the pain that builds you. No one is assigned to your dream but you. That idea that keeps pulling at you, that vision that plays in your mind when you're supposed to be focusing on something else, that isn't random. It wasn't misplaced. It wasn't a mistake. It's yours. And with it comes a responsibility. We love the idea of chasing dreams. We write it on vision boards. We wear it on t-shirts. But what most people don't realize is that dreams come with weight. And if you're waiting for someone else to carry that weight, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. You see, it's easy to get excited about a vision in the beginning. It's easy to dream big when you're inspired. But the moment it gets hard, when the journey starts to demand real commitment, many people look around and say, "Where's my support? Where's my help?" But here's the truth most won't say out loud. It's not their job. It's not your parents' job, not your partner's job, not your friends, your followers, your bosses, or your community's job. It's yours. And the moment you own that, really own it, your life begins to shift. Because once you stop waiting for someone else to believe in you, push you, or validate you, you take back your power. You stop being dependent. You stop blaming. You stop explaining your stagnation as someone else's fault. And in that shift, you grow. Yes, support is helpful. Yes, encouragement is beautiful. But your dream cannot survive being outsourced. Imagine you were given a seed, one that could grow into something extraordinary, a tree so tall it would inspire generations. But the only condition is this: you must plant it, water it, protect it, and nurture it every day. What happens if you set it down and wait for someone else to pick it up? Nothing. It never takes root. It never grows. Not because the seed was broken, but because you didn't own the responsibility. Your vision works the same way. The people around you can't feel what you feel. They don't lie awake at night thinking about it. They don't daydream about what it could become. That passion was planted in your spirit. So stop expecting someone else to wake up and chase it for you. And don't fall into the trap of thinking that someone more qualified is coming. They're not. You're it. You're the one. The one meant to start, meant to build, meant to carry it, even if your hands shake while doing it, especially then, because that's what courage looks like. It's not confidence, it's ownership. It's saying, this might take me years, this might be hard, people might not understand, but this is mine, and I will do what it takes. Responsibility is not a burden, it's a badge of honor. It means you're no longer a bystander in your own life. It means you're no longer asking the world for permission. It means you're no longer waiting for the right moment, because you understand the right moment is the moment you choose. And in choosing to carry your vision, you unlock strength you didn't know you had, focus you didn't know was possible, growth that only comes from commitment. So stop asking who's going to help you. Start asking what you're willing to do with what you've been given. Because in the end, no one else is assigned to your vision. You are. When you choose to do it alone, something happens that's hard to explain but impossible to ignore. You start to become someone else. Not someone different from who you are, but someone deeper, stronger, sharper, more grounded. You begin to shed layers that were never truly you, layers built from approval, expectations, and fear of being misunderstood. You stop trying to fit into a version of life that makes others comfortable, and you step into the version that makes you come alive. That transformation doesn't happen in a crowd. It doesn't happen when everything's easy and everyone agrees with you. It happens when you're out on the edge, when no one's clapping, no one's calling, and no one's offering you a shortcut. It happens when you walk into your calling with nothing but grit, vision, and faith. And in that place, yes, it's lonely, but it's also where your identity is forged. Because when you do it alone, you learn what you're truly made of. You find out just how resourceful you can be when you don't have the answers. You discover just how disciplined you can become when no one else is pushing you. You realize how strong your voice really is when you stop waiting for others to echo it. Doing it alone doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you move anyway. It doesn't mean you don't crave encouragement. It means you've learned to encourage yourself. It doesn't mean you don't want company. It means you've stopped postponing your progress for it. And as you keep showing up day after day, you begin to build more than a project, more than a goal. You begin to build you. You become someone you respect, someone you trust, someone who keeps promises to themselves. And that kind of transformation, that's rare. That's real. That's unshakable. Most people want the destination, but they don't want the solitude of the path. They want the outcome, but they don't want to walk alone to get there. But if you can face that walk, if you can keep going without the fanfare, if you can build in the quiet, you don't just reach a goal, you earn a new identity. And that identity stays with you long after the applause fades. It follows you into every room. It speaks even when you're silent. It says this person has paid their dues. They've done the hard work. They've fought the inner battles. And they didn't quit. People can sense it. It's in your presence, your discipline, your certainty, not arrogance, certainty. A quiet confidence that doesn't scream to be seen because it knows the value of being unseen. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've built something alone, you're no longer afraid of being alone. You're no longer dependent on others to validate your steps. You welcome support, yes, but you don't require it. You stop needing applause because you've already proven enough to yourself. And ironically, that's when others begin to notice. That's when they start to say, there's something different about you. That's when they ask for your advice, your help, your story. But by then, you're not doing it for them. You're not doing it for approval or attention. You're doing it because it's who you are now. Because when you do it alone, you don't just win, you evolve. So here you are at the edge, no crowd, no fanfare. No promise of a smooth road, just you and a choice to rise when it would be easier to rest, a choice to build when no one's clapping, a choice to walk forward alone, because the dream inside you is louder than the doubt around you. And let's be clear, this isn't about proving anyone wrong. This isn't about revenge or validation or applause. This is about becoming someone who doesn't wait to be chosen, becoming someone who doesn't pause for permission, becoming someone who shows up without shortcuts, without excuses, without a crowd, because you understand that your life is your responsibility and your future is your fight. They won't understand your silence. They won't see the early mornings or the late nights. They won't feel the weight of what you carry. But they will see what rises from it. Because people always notice what's built in the dark once it starts to shine. And when they do, when they finally ask how you did it, how you kept going, how you stayed the course when it felt like no one was watching, you'll smile. Not because you needed them to ask, but because deep down you always knew. You were never waiting for them. You were becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be carried. because they were born to climb. So walk alone, not because you have to. It's because now you know you can. And when you do, you won't just reach the mountaintop. You'll rise into the kind of strength the world can't ignore.